Alright everybody, welcome back to the third video in the series on how to fly the FlightFactor 757. Today we're going to look at how we get from programming the FMC to taxiing to the runway. We're in Manchester at the moment. We're going to fly from 05 left. If you followed the last video, we will have programmed the FMC. Let me just bring that up real quick. So we programmed in the route, we programmed in the departure. You might have programmed in the arrival already, that's up to you. Departure today, we're gonna fly from 05 left and we're gonna do the Listo 2S departure. I had to delete a few points in the legs page and merge them around so that we got a nice curve after our departure, because it is slightly kind of wibbly wobbly. I think that is really because out of date nav data or something like that. Either way, so at this point we assume we have IFR clearance to Palermo. So the first thing we need to do is we need to bring up the little iPad menu, go on ground, remove our gate config or the stairs, whatever, remove the fuel truck. We want to close all the doors, the cargo doors and the front doors. I'll get rid of some of these warnings, and also up here you get, these are the door notifications up here. You should have done the IRS alignment and everything already, so that should all be good. You can have a double check to see if your overhead panel looks something like this. So we're gonna call the ground crew and we're gonna ask for a pushback. I'll bring up the little menu again, ground, pushback. Before you do that, obviously, you would ask for push and start permission. Let's assume we have that, so we get the ground, the pushback truck, and he will ask you now to turn off the parking brakes, so we're going to do that. And while he starts his pushback, we will ask ground for permission to start engine number 2, which is the right engine. Let's assume he gives it to us, right? So we're going to turn off the packs, we're going to turn the right start to ground, so you move this all the way to the left. Now what this does is, if you keep watching the N3 down here, the rotation, you see this is coming up. If you don't have this screen, you got to push these buttons till you get the right configuration of your screen. So we're just going to monitor N3 for the revolutions. Also going to have to start turning the plane at some point. I'm going to do that now. Right, so it's coming up nicely, 25. 28. Turn on the fuel all the way up. Sometimes it doesn't want to go. There we go. That was the generator kicking in. Right, so the EGT, the exhaust gas temperature, is stable. That's nice. Right, we finished our pushback. In case you didn't know, the pushback works with your throttle lever. So as soon as you have the truck actually connected, if you throttle up, it will push you faster, and if you throttle all the way down, it will stop. The truck will stop. So at this point, you'll ask to engage the parking brakes. We'd ask ground for permission to start engine number 1. Let's assume we're given permission. Similar thing, we're gonna watch N3 down here. Now at this point, we can also ask the truck to, by clicking pushback again, you'll see that the truck will start to move away. We can turn on the landing lights and the nose gear lights. Actually no, in this plane we don't turn on the, because this only has 2 as opposed to 4 landing lights. But we're going to turn on the runway turn off lights, and I think that's it. Let's have a quick look. You don't need the wing lights. The wing lights are lights that go over the leading edge of the wing, and you use these to check for ice on the wings. Anyway, so we're on 30 N2, or N3, sorry. We're going to turn on the fuel. Again, watch EGT, the exhaust gas temperature. If you follow procedure, everything should be fine. That's the second generator kicking in. Don't worry about that. Alright, that looks good. Now at this point we can turn off the APU, turn on the bleed valves, and we can turn the packs on again, so our passengers get some actual air down here. Close the APU valve for the bleed air, and you can turn off the APU generator as well. Okay, so we're back. We've finished our pushback. We have started both engines, so we're just going to go to the overhead panel and have a quick check that everything's right. Our yaw dampers should be on, hydraulic pumps should all be on. Our generators, we have the left and right bus tie in auto, utility bus left right are on. Generators for both the left and the right engines are on. APU we switch to off. Then we go to the middle, that's emergency lights are armed, engine limiters on. These we can either leave in auto or you can move them into continuous. The center, we got the center pumps on and we got the 2 wing pumps on because we have fuel in the center tank. Anti-ice, turn this on or off as required. Today we don't need it, there are no clouds, it's not that cold. Wipers we need off, it's not raining. Position we have red and white, we have the anti-collision lights, they're all on. Landing light we leave off, but we can turn on the nose gear for taxi. We go over to the next panel, window heats, turn these all on. You generally leave these off while you're still stationary, mainly because ground personnel could hurt themselves when they touch the hot surface. But you know, if you don't care about that, you can turn them on straight away. Passenger signs, no smoking on, of course, seatbelts are on. Down here, this is important, the mode select needs to be on either Auto 1 or Auto 2, and select the landing altitude to your final destination. In this case, Palermo is basically sea level. This should all be fine. Equipment cooling we don't need right now. Turn on some lights if you like. We go back up. These temperatures should have stabilized around 21 degrees. Recirculation fans are on but in operating, that's fine. These 2 switches are on auto. Isolation valve is open. Left and right engines valves are open and the APU valve is closed. Then we come down here, we can do the MCP, so we're going to set our V2 plus 10 roughly, so set 150, runway heading 053 in this case, and our transition altitude is going to be 5,000. We're going to fly the departure, so we're going to start our takeoff. We're going to engage toga. Then at 400 feet we're going to toggle LNAV, lateral navigation. The 1500 it's going to kick into climb mode here. And then at 3000 feet we're going to turn on our vertical navigation, VNAV. We're going to move down, auto brakes, move this to RTO, and our flaps should be on 5 setting. We're going to keep moving down. Down here we're going to turn on WXR for the weather, and to turn on the actual weather radar we're going to turn the system down here into WX. You can also turn it into turb, whatever you like. You don't turn on the weather radar while you are on the ground, because or facing a terminal, because the radar waves are not exactly healthy as such. In case you didn't know, if you have to access these panels, there's a little click spot here which moves the armrest up, which makes it a lot easier to see. Transponder into, we're going to move that into altitude on. You can move it into altitude off and then altitude on when you get to the runway. I'm going to go straight for altitude on. We're not flying on VATSIM anything, so it doesn't really matter all that much. So at this point you also need to double check your trim settings. So you're going to go into RTE, performance initialization, takeoff. Your flaps should be a 5. You can choose 0, 1 or 5. Your thrust D rating, I think we put in 50 actually. So we have a D-rated takeoff, and our trim setting is 2.9. So we're going to move back here, and you zoom in, and you can see 2.9 should be the trim setting. So this is 2, this line is 3, yeah, something like that. Our speed brakes should be all the way down, which moves them actually up into the armed position. And at this point we're going to ask for permission to taxi to the runway, and I see you guys when we are holding short to runway. Okay, welcome back. We're now holding short runway 05 left on Alpha 1. At this point we would have contacted tower saying something that, you know, we are holding short A1, ready for departure. At this point tower says, you know, Thompson, whatever, you clear for takeoff, runway 05 left, the winds, blah 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 blah, and some instructions, fine. We can turn on the landing lights, left and right. and down here you need to double check that you set your transponder to altitude mode on. Double check your trim setting. Should be something about I think it was 2.9 or so. Auto brakes, RTO, flaps 5 or whatever you have selected. MCP flight director on left and right. Auto throttle armed, speed set, heading set, altitude set. And the runway turn off lights should be on actually for taxi. I'm not sure why they were off. And we have no warnings except the parking brake, the recirculation fans, which we're not worried about, and we're good for takeoff. Okay, welcome back. We're now ready for takeoff. Doing a takeoff in the 757 is a little bit different to what you might be used to from the 737 or comparable. So what we're going to do is, everything here should be off. In case it's not, turn off the 2 flight directors as well as the auto throttle, then turn it all back on. We're going to have 5,000 in here, heading, runway heading, and the speed that we've selected. So I chose V2 plus 5 or so, about 150 knots. Now the trick is, that you might not know, there's a click spot here. Can you see how the arrow changes? This will come in important in a second. Right, down here it should say derated takeoff. I've derated it quite heavily because, well, you know, the 757 has extreme power. I also moved the trim slightly upwards. I just prefer it that way. Speed brake should be all the way up in the armed position, and auto brake should be RTO, and we're ready to go. I'm going to remove the parking brake. We're going to increase the power. Once I've stabilized, we're going to click this little click spot, and this will arm the auto throttle to the EPR. That's basically the EPR button. It pops up the EPR in here, and this gives you your derated takeoff. And we watch it accelerate. Got 80 knots. V1 and rotate. For the rate of climb, gear comes up. At 400 feet we can engage VNAV. Just follow the flight director. We're a little bit fast, but that's okay. We're going to engage LNAV. Then at 1,500 feet or so, I'm not sure what I set as the transition altitude, but we will go over into our cruise setting. Yeah, we're already in climb setting now. So that will slightly derate the thrust. Just follow the flight director. And then at 3,000 feet we're going to engage our VNAV. Just keep an eye on your speed, keep an eye on the altitude, keep an eye on the instruments. We're coming up on 3,000 feet, so we're going to get ready to engage VNAV. There we go, VNAV. And we engage the autopilot. Now we're gonna increase our speed, so we're gonna bring up our flap to 1. And you can see the F here, right? And so now we released. The speed went automatically up to 240. And we can move the next stage of flaps up. Gear is up, of course. Lights are off. Auto brakes off. Flaps are up. Instruments look good. We have VNAV engaged, LNAV engaged, we're accelerating. Takeoff done. So I hope you guys liked this episode on how to taxi and take off in the 757. It's a really, really nice plane to fly, as I've said before. Lots of power. However, if you don't know about the hidden click spot, you might be a little bit confused as to why your takeoff are not working properly. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please leave a comment if you have anything to say or any requests. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.